Pat, I've noticed that a lot of your work includes words and or text, and I know sometimes text and words can really overwhelm a work of art. How do you work with the text to make sure that it doesn't overwhelm all your other elements that you have going on?
Okay. Well, first off, my interest in text within the painting started when I was a more traditional landscape painter. I noticed, like, if I was painting a cityscape and there was a stop sign, the fact that there were words there, one has to pause and read that text. So it becomes an automatic focal point just to have words in a composition. So then as my work became more and more abstract, I would use that as a device to sort of arrange the composition so your eye would find the text within it. Now, in most of my work, the text starts to be obscured. Sometimes I try to save some specific important words, but usually if the composition kind of demands that something get lost, I go with that and just let it disappear. And a lot of the text comes from known sources. The Constitution, U.S. Constitution, Shakespeare, the Bible. I'll pull out just elements from those and incorporate that into my work. Often there's poetry. Sometimes it's sort of lesser known poetry, but I kind of like having that in there so that there may be someone in the audience who recognizes a term and knows where that came from, and it's like, oh, they're sort of in on the joke, so to speak, as to what the piece is. But I'd like to let the text sort of get lost underneath the painting, and that keeps it from dominating.
Okay, I really like that whole idea that the composition comes first,
Right.
And the text can become lost. And I like your whole idea of like communicating with the viewer. And you talked about obscure poems, and I was kind of thinking that, like for a lot of people, the Constitution is obscure as well. So that adds another layer of meaning.
Right, yeah.
And the fact that you started this whole idea and concept when you're doing landscape paintings is a real surprise to me. I didn't know that. So.
Well, we use a different part of our brain for reading than for looking. So, I mean, it's like bouncing back and forth between different hemispheres of your brain as you look at, formal elements versus textural elements.
Okay, well, thanks for explaining that. It makes a lot of sense. I learned a lot.